page that we grabbed from Bootstrap, and it's basically our home page that has some example snippets of widgets that are available in the Bootstrap library, and certainly you're welcome to use any and all that are here. At the top we have this header that is responsive. It collapses, let's add a couple links there so that we can navigate either to the login page or to the registration page. So let's look at this this landing page here, which is the let's see, we were an assignment, undergrad, and this is the index page. And at the top we see the header that is implemented as a nav bar using Bootstrap classes, and we have several hyperlinks down below that start here, right here. This UL represents this top list of hyperlinks. They're all rendered here in line items. There's quite a few of them, right? There's home, there's about, there's contact. There's these over here: about, contact, home. Notice that home seems to be kind of like recessed or kind of like clicked on. Right? It has a different color, a different background than the others. And you achieve that by adding this class of active. Right now it's all hard-coded. Eventually it'll be dynamic, and we're gonna have JavaScript programmatically activate or deactivate depending on where you are on the page, right? As you use this header. So for now, let's add a couple of links. So I'll add here maybe a login page, login. And we'll add maybe the register page. Okay. At some point, we'll add maybe a profile page, and which will allow anybody who has already been logged in to navigate to their profile page. Right. So again, this link eventually will be dynamic. Will show or not show if you are logged in or not logged in. Make sense? These two will also be dynamic. If you're already logged in, these will disappear, where we won't let you log in again or register. Instead, perhaps we'll replace it with a different link, like log out or something, right? That allow you to log out of your account. Right now, it's hard-coded. We don't have any of that right now. But so let's add their places. So let's add here log out. Right now, they're all going to show because we don't have any logic. These are going to navigate to the login page. This will navigate to the register page. This eventually will navigate to the profile page, and log out. It's not doing anything yet. Everybody okay? Yes. Yeah. The hashes. Right here, they're meant to be used in their default behavior, right? That just navigate you to a different section in the same page, right? But as we'll see next week, Angular uses a hash sign for something much more powerful, right? That to implement its navigation scheme, right? So if you see hashes, be careful, right? That hashes have a special meaning in Angular. Right now they don't have any special meaning. They have their default meaning, but I'm just going to remove them so that because I know that they will be a problem at some point later when we get to Angular. Okay, right now it doesn't really matter. All right, so if I reload, if I click on login, it navigates me to the login page. If I click on register, it takes me to the register page, and I believe this is where we left off yesterday, while we were playing around with the profile page. Yes? Everybody okay? All right. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with this. Let's move on to the next page stipulated in the assignment. Let's look at assignment 2. Let's go back and see where we are. Fit. Okay. So we had said that the navigation was going to be from. Let me add one more here. We said that we're going to add homepage, right? Home.html. So yeah, from home you can get a login, register, perhaps profile, and And also in the navigation, we said that we were going to navigate from when you logged in or when you register, you would land on the profile page. Yes, but few of you have suggested that a better implementation would be to navigate to the where's my maybe because I added something. Okay, there we go. Yeah, some of you have suggested that a better implementation would be that if you log in or you register, you're navigated actually to the list of pages. That's a better navigation, and I think I concur with some of you. So I'm gonna change it so that when you log in or register, you actually land here as opposed to the profile page. Is that okay? All right. So let's do that. Let's do that. So let's see. If you log in, let's go to the login page. Log in. So Simon, undergrad, login. So if you log in, actually we're going to go to the website list.html. And if you register, you also go to the if you register, where do you go? Oh, right, we didn't implement this, right? We said we're going to go to the website list.html page, which doesn't exist yet, right? We'll create it in a minute, which will be this website right here. Okay. All right. So let's work on that. Let's work on website list. Let's implement that. We'll create HTML. So this would be website list.html. Is that the naming convention we chose? Yes, website list.html. Yes? All right, so it's that one. Let's see. I think a lot of the things that we had done for the profile, I think we can copy over, especially the heading and the footer we can copy over, so we don't have to redo that. So let me do that. Let me grab the footer and the header. So here's the footer. And let's paste it in here. What else do we need? Let's see, maybe the header. Let me copy the header. That's a big header. I really want a smaller header. Let's see. Let me grab it. Oh yeah, I can grab it from the footer, which is has what we most need. Okay, so we'll put that in there. Website list. So that's the footer, and let me add that to the header. And this will be fixed to the top. Oh, it's hard here, isn't it? Nav bar, oh, yeah, top. Thank you. So this is the header. Header. All right, so let's see what we have so far. If we go back to here and we go to the login page and we click on login, we go to the website list. And it looks like we forgot to load all the style sheets, right? Because it looks like it has no styling whatsoever. Let's load the libraries that we need. Right? So that will be with the link. It will be href. We'll go up. Let's see, maybe CSS. What do we have here? Do we have vendor? Yeah, we have vendor. We have Bootstrap vendor. We have distribution, and we have CSS. We have Bootstrap in there. There we go. And do rel style. This is a style sheet. And the same thing we'll need. I think we had a style sheet of our own, didn't we? Right, under CSS. So let's do that. Let's grab the style sheet, and this will be our style sheet. Notice the order in which they're declared. See that? So first Bootstrap loads, right, and sets up the default look and feel for the page, all the styles that it's going to be using, and then in the styles.css, because it's declared afterwards, it allows us to override whatever Bootstrap says. Okay, if we don't like exactly what Bootstrap is doing, if we want to change colors, themes, if we don't like rounded buttons, we want them square, or whatever you want, right? Or the padding is not exactly what you want. You can override that in the style sheets. Make sense? All right. And indeed, I think we did override a couple things. So let's refresh. And there we have the header and the footer above and below. Right? Everybody okay? All right. So for instance, we might want to override the color, the background color for our header. If we look at the header, we might see where is that declared, and we see that it's declared here in the navbar defaults. It has background color and border color. See that? Right? And we can start playing around with what those colors look like. So for instance, for background color, we might decide red or green. We have several colors. Dark blue, whatever color you might prefer, and you can just go through several of these well-known colors. Right. Let's go with dark blue, right? And the border color, you don't see it, but it's very thin. Perhaps it's very small. I think we can leave it like that. So let's override that. So the way you would override that is that you take exactly the same class that Bootstrap is using, right? You copy it, and then in your CSS file, in your own CSS file, you can redeclare it, right? And it'll be navbar default, and you can change the color to be something else. And you can just copy this, right, and copy it there. So if we refresh, notice that now it's made permanent, right? My background color for the header is now going to be dark blue always. Notice how you can see in the inspector that the navbar, there are two rules that are colliding here, right? One that is being declared by navbar less, right? This is Bootstrap's declaration of the navbar color, and notice that it's striked out, right? It says that somebody has overwritten it, right? And indeed, it's ours under style.css has overwritten it. Make sense, right? We might play around with the color. If you highlight the color for this, it's in the navbar brand. I don't know that we are going to use the brand. Yes.
I was reading somewhere about like using colors in CSS and
yeah.
how we shouldn't really use like the title of the color, like dark blue. We use like the HTML color or whatever.
Yes, ideally you would use the hexadecimal color. Yep.
Is that due to the fact that like browsers render the colors differently?
Right. It's exactly. Yep. Yes. Yep. But just to show you how to override this, notice that there is a color here for the navbar brand. It says navbar default and then navbar brand. Right. This says that this navbar brand, according to this rule, right? If I copy it and just show you in a minute, if I show it to you right here, oops, nope, copy. Right. What this says is, notice that there's a space between the two. See that? What this says is that there is a parent-child relationship between these two classes. Right? There is an outer element that has this class, right? And then there is an inner element that has this class, right? And they're hierarchically organized in a parent-child relationship, right? And notice that indeed, here's the tag, the anchor tag that has a navbar class. There it is, navbar class. And then there's a parent up above, right? Somewhere in the hierarchy chain, there is a navbar default. See that navbar default? Okay. So this says that there is some ancestor, right, in my inheritance chain that has this class, and then there is some grandchild, right, that has this navbar brand, right, anywhere in the chain, right, anywhere in that chain, and we can override that and say that we don't want the color. We can test it here, what the color might look like. Where is it? Oh, this one, right, that one. We can try it out. Maybe white might be a good choice. There it is. It's white. So we can override that and copy that and paste it here. Oops. So if we refresh, notice that the color has taken and it's now yes.
So that targets the most specific rule.
Yes.
So I guess like
yeah. You should try to always be as specific as possible, and only be general very lightly.
So So it goes from like left to right, where right is the most specific like target.
Yes.
For that.
Yep. Yeah. This is higher in the document, right? Hierarchy, and this is lower in or nested more in the hierarchy. There are a couple of inherent rules here on how to create these relationships. There's a character that is the greater than. This means an immediate child, right? So it's an immediate parent, immediate child relationship, right? So this would break our layout. Notice that it's not applying it because there is no element with this class that is immediately a child of this one, right? So let me remove that. Oh, there it is. So, everyone okay? Yes.
Would it be better to do a specific rule for the color that you want, since you know between other titles or like have the text or headers? So like instead of making that specific class color, you make that a rule for that color, and then just apply it to the tag that you want it to be.
True. Yes. But here, what we're doing is that we're reusing the same rules that Bootstrap is already creating. If we create our own HTML, our own layout, then yes, you would create classes of your own. But if you're trying to override what somebody else has already established that has its own structure, that you've copied the template, then we try to stick to their rules. Right? But if it's something that you're building from scratch, then yes, definitely. Yes.
If you made it less specific here, although you're loading our style sheet second, it will not override the first style sheet, correct? Because it's less specific.
Say again?
If you made this class name less specific, if you just use the first class name and you want color white,
Okay.
it wouldn't override this header because in the previous file it's more specific.
It's more specific, exactly. Right? Yeah. All right, so we changed some of those colors. Let's start adding some content here, okay? And according to the assignment, it should look something like this, right? Now this is again this should be taken as wireframes, right? They don't have to look exactly like this. There has to be a general look and feel, that there has to be a list, that there should be, on the left-hand side, there should be some names, and some text justified to the left. On the right-hand side, there's some toolbars or some tool icons. They're generally well-spaced. There's generally some margins between them. Something here that is broken is that these two perhaps should be perhaps a little better aligned. So if you want to use perhaps a different layout, you're not stuck to this particular one, right? So you're free to make it look even better. Okay. Yes.
Do we have any guidelines for the look of the homepage, or is that just?
For look at the homepage. Other than the general case that we're saying, it should look spectacular. I'll show you several examples of other students what we consider to look spectacular. So if you go through the projects that I've listed, I've given you a hyperlink with all the projects from last semester. So I'll show you, 2 or 3 examples that we consider to be.
Actually, I mean the homepage for like.
This homepage. Not right now. This one is fine. Just a template from Bootstrap. But eventually, what we'll do is that the bottom half, it'll be dynamic. It'll show, the latest folks that have registered, the latest websites that have been created. So just to show activity, that there's some activity going on on our website, right? Which is one of the requirements for the project as well. Your landing page, right, should show that there has been some activity, right? Something has going on in your website.
For the homepage, should we use the same color scheme that we're using like throughout the pages?
Yes. Yes. All right. So we need a list here, and again, remember the general the general thing to do is to see if Bootstrap has a nice way to list things, right? In the components, you can find quite a bit of widgets. one of the things that might first come to mind is as well. How about using a table? And again, remember I mentioned not to use tables for layout. So tables perhaps might be a nice choice, right? But again, typically they're meant for just displaying tabular content, right? Where you have different records, and each record has the same schema, right? And they're all perhaps listed one on top of another. So let's try to stay away from tables. Okay? Let's see what other choices we have. If you keep looking in the components, you might find things such as list groups. So let's look at list groups, and this looks like a nice candidate. It lists a list of items nicely, all flush, all aligned very nicely, and it's a fairly simple piece of HTML. So I'm going to go with this, right? So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go back to website list. And in between here, right, I'm just going to paste it and go back to see what it looks like right now. Let's render it. And it's okay. One of the things I don't like is that it's flush with the right-hand side and the left-hand side, right? So let's add some margins so that this looks a little more contained, right? So let's add here a class, a container, and again, remember there were two versions that are very, very common. I tend to prefer container fluid, especially it makes it easier to line up things in small screens, but container looks better on larger screens. So again, it depends how you want to display it and be consistent across different devices. I'm going to go with container fluid. So if I re-render, notice that it added some margins from the left and the right. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. From what we have in the assignment, it says that this should list. Oops, what's going on? This should list several websites. It looks like they are hyperlinks, right? That if they're clicked, presumably this would navigate to the list of pages, right? If you click on those, and there's cogs on the right-hand side. That if you click on those, presumably you navigate to either an edit page, and you have a plus sign that would navigate to a new page, right? That will allow you to create a new website. So let's implement those. Let's implement the cogs first, right? So to implement the cog, right? To implement the cogs, we can use several of the glyphicons that are available in Bootstrap. You can either use these or the Font Awesome. Font Awesome has many more icons, freely available icons, including quite a few from commercial that refer to companies, right, like Google or Facebook or Twitter and Apple, and icons that for those, and also their particular technologies are also represented there. Right? Some of their products are also represented there. So for the cog, I'm going to use this cog over here, and to add a cog, you can just use a span, right, and that adds a cog. If we re-render, you'll notice that it adds the cog symbol right there, right next to your text. These are typically implemented as fonts. Right? They will only work if you have also installed the Bootstrap fonts, which I believe we did yesterday. Under the vendor, under Bootstrap, I dragged the entire distribution directory, and in there, not only do we have the CSS libraries, but we also have the fonts installed in there. Yes? If you don't have these fonts, this won't work. It'll render like some weird squarish character. Okay? All right. This and it has to be in this order, right? And they all have to be siblings, because the Bootstrap library that you load will look for the font directory that is sibling to its parent directory. So it'll go under the fonts directory to look for it. Yes? Right? They're all relative to each other. All right. So another common class here will allow us to achieve the fact that these are all to the right-hand side. Right. So to do that, Bootstrap provides two classes. One that allows you to either pull it all the way to the left or pull it all the way to the right. Underneath, what it's doing is using float. Right. It's just that it wraps floats with some additional styling to take into account other edge cases. Right. So let's see. So we can do a pull right, and that pulls the cog all the way to the right. Right. Now this we want it to be a hyperlink. Right. So we need to wrap it around a hyperlink. So that when we click on it, remember we want to navigate to an edit page, the edit page for this particular website, right? For this particular website, and we want to be able to go to website edit, which doesn't exist just yet, right? Now if we render it again, there it is. There's a hyperlink, and if we click on it, we are going to we would want to navigate to website edit, but it doesn't exist just yet. Yes?
Just to clarify, what exactly is the span doing? Just grouping things together?
Yeah. So span is it's so that you can represent. You can refer to things that are normally inline, would render inline, like a character or a word, right? And you want to be able to grab it and do something with it, right? So since this is a standalone word, right, there's no way for me to put some meta information about this word, right? So the only way that I can grab it, right, is to now it's inside of a tag that won't change it at all, right? Whatever it was originally doing, it will keep behaving the same way that it was originally behaving. But now it allows me to add classes or any other attributes that I need, right? So that's what's happening here. This pan, notice that it actually has no content whatsoever, right? If you look at the styling, I guess we could take a look at it. If you look at the styling for this, it uses where is it? Now I can't find it. There it is. It uses this colon before, right? This allows you to inject content into the span, right, or into an element from within CSS. So for instance, this is using a character code, right, and that character code maps to a particular font character, right? But you can change it to be anything else. So for instance, you might say, you might change it to be something else. So hello, right? And that's the actual content is rendering there. See that? Right? But instead, it's using a particular character code from within CSS, right? So that you don't have to remember, which character is the cog, right? You just need to remember the name of it, right, or the class, the high level class name for it. Okay. These are referred to as pseudo rules. This is a rule on the left hand side, and these are pseudo rules. They're used for it's a higher level of abstraction of a rule, or they're used also for different statuses. Right? For instance, you might say, for instance, a hyperlink might be in different statuses. Right? It could be as you hover over it, that's a status. Right? If you click on it, that's another status. If it has already been visited, it's in a different status. Right? So pseudo rules allow you to apply the same rule, but in different statuses. All right, where are we? Let's see. Okay, so we have that. What else do we need? We need this to be a hyperlink as well. So this is a hyperlink. Let's change this to be a hyperlink. Okay. And presumably, well, where this would navigate is the list of all the pages for this particular website, right? So this would go to page-list.html, which doesn't exist just yet, right? So let's re-render, and this would go to page list, and this would go to website edit. Everybody okay? Yes.
When you're linking to pages, do you think is it better to link off like the root or like relative to where your file is right now?
Root. Oh, I'm sorry. Relative. It's better to go relative. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is that you might move an entire set of pages around, right? And you don't want to break them. And nevertheless, tools such as WebStorm and many other IDEs will parse your entire page, right? Create a model, a mental model, and as you move things around, right, it'll update any references back that refer to it. So in today's tools, it doesn't really matter. It does keep all these references in its head. All right. So now we had suggested that that for this page, right, for this first page, the website list, that we would add different columns, right, so that if you were looking at it in a large window, right, you would show more columns, right. If you had a small reduced window on a phone, you would show less information. So let's play around with that. Okay. Now to do that, let's first introduce one concept. Right. Let's go to lectures. Let's go to undergrad, and so we'll play around with the grid system a little bit. So let's go to Bootstrap, and here I'd like to introduce you to row grid, right? So in grids, I'd like to show you a couple things. So let's have here index.html, and let's load the Bootstrap library here. Link href. Let's go up. Let's see. Where are we? Where are we? Graduate. I think one more. CSS. What do we have here? Bootstrap. There we go. And we might want min. There it is. So this is style sheet. So remember we talked about the grid system, right? That allows us to somewhat reuse the same functionality that tables gave us, but without the need of tables. So let's play around with it a little bit. So we have div, and we can say class row, and we can create a couple columns. So we can say columns. Oops, can't type today. Div class column, and let's go with that for now. So this is my left-hand side, and let's create another column with the right-hand side. Right. So as this suggests, right, this is a single row that has two columns, and notice that they both have the same value, 6 and 6. Right. They both add up to 12. So this is kind of like a 50-50 split. Yes. All right. So let's render this. Let's see, let's go here, let's go back up, and let's go assignments, let's go down to lectures, undergrad, Bootstrap, grid, index. There we have, so we have left and right as we had expected. Everybody okay? Right? But notice that is for small screens, right? So anything smaller than small screen will revert to its original rendering of blocks, right? Block elements. So if I make it too small, right, it renders back to just one on top of the other. Everybody okay? All right. Now, what we would like to be able to do is that on such a large screen, we would like this to behave and show many more columns, right? So let's do that. So on really large screen, right? On large screens, well, let's give it medium-sized screens. Because I typically do a zoom. I zoom in, right, and then it doesn't fit on the page, right? So it behaves like a small screen. So I'm going to use small screens. So let's add just a couple of columns. Let's add 3 and 3, and just so this will be column column 1. This would be column 2, and let's add just a couple more. There we have. So we have 4 columns, 3 columns each, right? 3 units wide. So that's up to 12, right? So let's see what that looks like. That doesn't work. What happened? What's going on? Medium. It might be because I'm zoomed in. Yeah, there we go. I was zoomed in, so it didn't fit. So there we go. We have our 4 columns, and as this becomes smaller, right, it doesn't fit, and it becomes block elements. Everybody good? Right. So what we'd like to be able to do is that as it gets smaller, right, perhaps we might decide not to show certain columns. Right. Maybe we decide we'll do this for large screens. For really large screens, right, I want to keep all of them. Okay, I guess I'm zoomed in still. Okay, there we go. So for really large screens, I like to have the 4 columns, but as I become smaller, I would like to be able to hide perhaps column 2. Yes? And then when it becomes even smaller, I like to hide column 3. And at its smallest, I like to hide column 4 as well. Yes? So let's do how we can do that. So let's do that. So what we could do is that we could say that we're going to hide this guy. We're going to hide this. There are classes that allow you to hide or show the particular content depending on where you are. Right? So for instance, I like to say that this might be, we might say hide this, right? We can hide this whenever this, notice that it has hidden and then hidden XS, hidden large, and hidden medium. See that? Right? This allows us to hide it at that particular size. Right? So for instance, at medium size, I like to hide this particular column. Right? So let's see how that behaves. Right? So column 2 is there. As this becomes smaller, notice that column 2 is gone. Right? Column 2 is gone, but column 3 and 4, right, are behaving like this is too small. Right? Because notice that the layout of being a column only applied for large screens. Yes? Right, so what I'd like to be able to do is that, yes, column 2 is gone. I have more space. Perhaps I could give more space to my most important column, column number 1. Yes? For medium-sized screens and above. Right, so let's do that. We can combine this so that this one's gone when it's medium. So I could give more space to this. I can say that the column for medium-sized screens, right, is twice as big. Right, and the other 2 stay the same. So column medium 3 and column medium 3. Okay. Everybody okay? So if I refresh, notice that I am back to my original layout. Yes? So that if this becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, right, column 2 appears, right? But as I become smaller, right, column 2 disappears, and I keep column 3 and 4. Everybody okay? Everybody still with me? All right. Okay, so let's keep playing with this. If this becomes even smaller, right, notice that I am now in small territory, right? I would like to hide. Notice that column 2 came back, right? So I wanted to hide here as well, right? And so what I'd like to be able to say is hide. I want this to be hidden in what? In small screens too, right? And the kind of layout that I want here is that I want this for the small screens. Small screens. I want this to be even bigger, right? I'm going to hide column number 3. So this is going to be size 9. This is going to be gone, hidden for small screens. And this is going to stay the same size for small screens. Yes? Yes.
When you hide something, it's not there, but basically what you do is you add the space no matter how. So if you
Yep.
don't increase the amount of available space, you're just saying use the space that you will use for column.
Right.
Column 1.
Exactly.
So why does it decide to only specify that there's only 6? It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, no. What it does is that it removes it from the display, so it does not participate in the rendering. So it doesn't push anything there. So we're not using. It's not. So there's two differences, right? There's two ways of not showing things, right? One of them is modifying the visible attribute, which basically says I'm not going to display it, but it's still there, right? So it's still pushing things around, but it's just not rendering. So it's just one white a piece of area, right? Or the other one is display none, right? Hidden uses display none. It says, I'm not going to display it. It's part of the DOM, but it's not going to render. It's not going to participate in the rendering of pushing things around, right? So it's not even going to show in the display.
So hidden just changes the visibility.
No, the display.
The display.
Yeah, display none.
So then why do we need to specify it at 6? If it was already not there.
Otherwise, it would jump. Let's do that, right? So let's maintain this like that. So column just large 3, right? So if I go back, right, and notice that column 2 goes away. Column 2 goes away, but notice what's happening to column 1. Right, column 1, it's still too big, right? Notice that it's still too big to be able to fit column 3 and column 4. Right? So for instance, if we look at the content, column 3, this is actually applying only to 3, right? Only applying to the large. So when it's large, this is what is it? 25% of the width. But when it's smaller than large, it becomes its default behavior, which it takes up the entire block. Right. So basically, what we're doing is that I want you to shrink, right? So that I can give you a size, right? Okay. All right. So let's do that again. Let's see. So we're here. We're becoming smaller, even smaller, and as it becomes smaller, notice that column 3 disappears, and we're left over with column 4. Right? And notice that column 4 always stays in the same place. See that? Column 4 always kind of stays in the same place. It's just that the other ones disappear. Right? It stays always in the same, proportionally stays in the same place. Right? Okay. All right, we're still okay? Notice that they break in the extra small, right? In the extra small, we don't have any layout for the extra small, so we can go back, and we would have something similar. All right, so let's style it for the extra small. So this would be column for extra small. I want it to be entire width of the document. Right? I want you to take up the entire width of the document, whereas these, right? They're all going to hide, hidden, even in the extra small, and hide this also in the extra small, right? And this one, I just want to hide it in the extra small. So there we go. So I only have column 1. Everybody okay? Maybe it might be easier to follow if we change the colors of these things, right? And also it gives us a chance to play around with the style attribute. Something that I don't want to see you do, I'm going to do it here just to show you what not to do. Don't use the local attribute style. Okay? The local attribute style allows you to style that one element, right, as a one-off. Right, so for instance, we might change the background color. Background color to yellow. So let's render that. Okay. And let's change this style here to be background color blue, and I'll change this to style background color to be red, right? And this last one to be style background color to be, I don't know, gray. Oops. Thank you. There we are, right? So we have the colors, and as these become smaller, notice that column 4 always stays proportionally the same size. Notice that column 3 also stays proportionally the same size, right? And notice that column 1 is just growing, right, taking up more and more space. And same thing, column 3 is going to disappear, right? And column 1 is going to take up its space, right? And then column 4 it is proportionally there and just disappears at the end. Okay, everyone okay? All right. All right. So instead of using the style attribute, something that is marginally better, right? Something that's marginally better is to declare a style tag at the top, right? Where you can declare your rules, right? That can then be applied to certain elements. So you can say dot. You can say dot yellow background, right? And just copy this, right? And then you can apply that rule. You can apply that rule. Notice that it has a dot in front of it, so it's a class. You've declared a class rule, so you can declare it and apply it to anybody who has that class, right? So let's refresh. Notice that it behaves exactly the same way. Everybody okay? Yes? So the same thing for each one of these. Let's grab this, right, and put a blue background, right, and apply it here. So this would be no style attribute. I don't want to see any style attributes in your homework or project. So this will be blue background. So it behaves exactly the same. Everybody okay? Right, I'm not going to do the rest, but even the style attribute has fallen out of favor. So don't use the style attribute. It's a little bit better. Ideally, what you want to be able to do is not declare things in your HTML that can otherwise be declared outside of the HTML, so that it makes it easier to maintain a website wide, right, or a domain wide changes, as opposed to having to go into each individual page, right, to having to maintain each individual page. So instead, the preferred way to do this is to declare all these rules in a separate file, such as put it in its own CSS file, right? So this would be styles.css. Oops. Right, and so in here you would put all your rules from here. You put them in your styles. This is the accepted way of doing it. All right, so do not have styles tags either, and then you can load that particular file using the link href styles, and this is a style sheet. There we go. So it behaves the same way. Yes? Everybody good? All right. All right. So there it is. So we saw the grid, and it's responsive, right? So it shows and hides different things, and we can apply it. We can apply this to what we were doing in our page, right? So let's go back and apply it there as well. Now notice that this is saying that I want to show it, I want to display it. I'm sorry, I want to hide it when it's medium, and when it's small, and when it's extra small. I want to hide it, right? So basically, I want to show it only when it's large. Yes. So we could replace this with actually the inverse of this, which is visible. There's a visible large, right? See that? We can invert it, right? So that the logic would behave exactly the same way. So this is for column 2. So there it is, column 2, which disappeared. It's only visible in large screens, and then it disappears. See that? Right. So there is the inverse, right, that you can use to make it easier on yourself. So this one also. well, these is kind of like, it's half and half, right? You can do 2 of those or 2 of these, the same amount of work. How about this? This says, right, that this is this size starting from small, medium, and large. Yes? Right? Well, all those 3 really can be all merged into one single class. Just column small 3. Column small 3 says that this behavior is true from small screens and above. Okay? So if we go, same thing here, let's see. This is, I want this column to be this from medium and above, right? So we can remove the large, that's redundant, right? And this, okay, no redundancy here. Right, so let's see if we broke something. Okay, so it's still behaving the same way. Okay, that makes sense? All right. Okay, so let's grab this. Let's grab what we just did here. Right, let's grab the row. Right, and now that we've experimented this, we know how it works. We can now use it for real. Go back to the list of pages, right, and let's copy that. All right. Go away. And let's try to reproduce the same mechanism here, right? So to reproduce it is not as clean as what we just saw, unfortunately. It needs to be replicated for each line item, okay? What the rules that we just looked at. So let's see how we can reproduce it here. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to grab this row. I'm just going to grab this row, and I'm going to paste it right here. Right? I'm going to close it. Right? And this is going to have 3 columns. It's going to have 3 columns. It's going to have this this first column. This first column. We don't have colors here. We don't have colors. And we're going to do just 3 columns, right? Let's not get carried away. Let's do another one, another column. Let's do another one here. And let's do yet another one right here. Okay. Actually, let's leave this column 1. And let's put this hyperlink. Let's do this hyperlink and put it in here. And we have the span as well. Right. Okay, so let's go back and see what we have so far. Let's go back. So this is in undergrad lectures. Let's go down to assignment, undergrads. And basically we were looking at website list. And it's somewhat what we're looking for. Notice that we have the list of the we have this this left-hand side. We have the column 2, column 3, column 4. And as we become smaller and smaller, right, the columns disappear, and we have what we're looking for, right? I don't want the colors, right? Let's remove the colors. Let's move the colors here. Let's remove these. We don't want the style here either. Let's remove that. Let's remove the style. And so the first column, we definitely want this, right? The name of the website. It doesn't make sense to have the cog here. Really, the cog should live where? On the very last column. So let's move that. Let's move that cog to the last column, right here. Something like that. And as this becomes smaller, right, the columns disappear one by one, and you're only just left with the cog. Yes. And now you might decide on whether you want to keep the cog. According to the assignment, you want to keep the cog always there, right? So let's not hide it. Right? Let's always have it there. We might let's not hide it. Let's keep it. Let's keep it there. If that's true, we need to make sure that this, right? It doesn't take up the entire width of the page, right? We want it to be 9 from. We always want to be 9. Let's see, when is small and when it's extra small. Yes, right. So let's do that. Let's see if that works. This goes smaller and smaller. There we are. So now it's become small, and we have it there. So this is kind of what we're looking for. Make sense, right? And here you might put dates, perhaps. You know, this would be perhaps the date. What do we say we were going to do? The date last opened or date created or something like that, right? So we might say 1/1/2017. This might be 2/2/2017, and they appear and disappear, right, as it becomes bigger. Okay, right. The exact size might not be okay. Perhaps this we might decide that for a cog you only really need something really tiny, right? It doesn't need a 3-spaced column, right? So we might decide that perhaps this last column could be as small as 1, right? That means that we need to grow all the other ones proportionally, right? So we might say that if that's 1, we need to spread the other 2 to other folks. So let's see, we can spread it maybe, we can grow the other 2. So this could be maybe 5. Let's see, 5. This would be 8. And this could be 11 and 11. Yes? Right? So let's see. Okay, notice that it moved over a little bit, right? And then it appears and disappears. We might want to have a headings at the top. So let's add a heading. To add a heading, we can copy this entire first row, right, and then just paste it as the very first one, right? So it has exactly the same layout, right? And here we might say website name. This would be maybe let's see, what do we call this? Last opened or no, this is created, last updated, and the last one we don't say anything. We don't. Let's just leave that. So there it is. We have a heading. Perhaps we want to change a little bit the coloring scheme. So you can turn on here and say that I want this to be active, and that makes it maybe no. Oh no, sorry. Apply it to the wrong one. We can apply to the line item. We can apply active. Active is a standard Bootstrap class that highlights the element, right, and it changes it to a darker background color. So in this case, it changed it to be blue. Notice that this is to the the coloring scheme. If this is a hyperlink, well, the first one is not a hyperlink, so let's remove that. It's not a hyperlink. That's why we couldn't see it. There it is, so website name. And there we go. We have headings and that appear and disappear as you open and close. Everybody okay? Yes.
You want to change the color that you display
Yes. Yep.
just say style color.
Yep. Yep. A and then the color, the anchor, and then a class, and then the color you want. Or you can do it. Typically, you don't want to do it for all of them, right? You want to be as specific as possible. Everybody okay? All right. All right. So I'll leave you to finish this up. Use meaningful names, meaningful. Play around with the layout. I think the layout right now it's as you become smaller, you might want to leave that column there, okay, as opposed to removing it because you have the space, right? But I'll leave that up to you. So here as well, when it becomes a small screen, this would be on a tablet, whether you show it or not show it. Perhaps what I would do is just handle medium-sized screens and below, right, and just leave the large screen always displaying everything, right? So don't deal with the larger screens, just deal with the smaller screens and below, right? All right, so let's move on to the next page that we might want to implement. Is that if you click on a particular cog, right, it would take you to the edit page, right, that will allow you to modify that particular website, right? So it would live under that directory. Yes.
For the tablets, like portrait and landscape, what size is, so like when you're on a tablet, what is landscape? Is that like medium? Is that small? Or is that like, if you have to specify like when you're on a phone?
Yeah. Yeah. So the thresholds, the actual thresholds are specified by Bootstrap, and it's the devices that they know that they're considering. Now it's becoming irrelevant as screens become more and more pixel dense. So pixels are starting to become irrelevant, right? It's just so small that it makes no sense to talk about a pixel anymore, right? Nevertheless, you can change the you can change the threshold to be whatever you want. They're targeting certain specific devices that are very popular out there. But yeah, so an iPad on landscape would be considered to be medium size, and on portrait would be considered to be small size screens. Yeah. But if you have other devices that are not covered by Bootstrap, you can recompile Bootstrap to have your whatever threshold you prefer, right, for whatever device that you are targeting. These are targeting the most popular today, right? Right. Okay. So let's continue. So let's create now a website edit page. So the website edit page, according to the assignment, is going to look something like this, right? We're going to have some content, right, that has a left and a right side by side. And on the left-hand side, we want the list of all the websites, presumably the way they would render on the smallest portrait layout, right? Just the first column and the last column. The first column listing all the websites, and the second column showing the cog. And that's on the left-hand side of it, like a two-third split. On the right-hand side, you have a form that would allow you to modify the information, the meta information for that particular website, right? And presumably, as you click the different websites, the right-hand side changes accordingly, right? We're not going to have that part for this assignment. That's the next assignment for next week. We'll make it dynamic. Today, for this week, it'll just be static, right? We're just focusing on laying things out, making them responsive, hiding, showing, and just adapting to different sizes of screens, right? That's the focus of this week's lecture. All right. All right. So the first thing we like to do is okay. Well, how do we do this left side, right hand side layout, right? And having just looked at how to do hidden, access, and visible and whatnot, all that, it should become apparent to you how to do this, right? The left side, right hand side, right? What we're going to do is we're going to have one single row that goes across the screen, and then two columns, a left column and a right column, and roughly a third, two-thirds split. And then on the left-hand side, we're going to say that it's going to show for, we could say maybe for small screens and above, we'll have the left-hand side and the right-hand side. But for extra small screens, we're going to hide the left-hand side, and we're just going to keep the right-hand side, right? Okay. So let's just play around with that. Let's create real quick an experiment so that we can see if what we need to, if we can learn something from this technique. So this we'll call it split. Right? And on this split, I'm going to copy this here. And actually, this should always be called index. So here's a split, and it's exactly the same example we saw earlier. I'm just going to throw away a couple of things from here. Why is this broken? Did I copy the right thing? No, that's not what I meant to copy. Sorry. No, remove that. That's not what I meant. It's in the lecture. Where's the lecture? Here it is. Thank you. Bootstrap. All right. So let's call this split down here. We'll say split. And let me just copy these two things in here. There we go. And then let's look at the index here. And let's keep working on this. So basically, we want a left-hand side and a right-hand side split. Right? So let's do that real quick. So we have a left-hand side and we have a right-hand side in two columns. So this is right, and we don't have the other two columns. Right? And so the layout that we want is that on the left-hand side, we want it to show only let's see, we want it to hide when we are in extra small. Yes? Other than that, we always want it to show. Right? So let's do that. We always want to have the same layout, always a third or 2/3. That's let's see, what is it? 4. So we can say that for XS 4. What does that mean? This is saying that we want to be this wide for extra small screens and above, right? Okay. But we also want to be hidden when it's extra small. Yes, right? Meaning it's going to show for all screens small and above. Right? It's going to hide for extra small. On the right-hand side, we want it to be always visible, and we want it to be let's see, whatever's remainder, right? 8 plus 4 is 12, so 8, right? So we want it to be of size 8 from small screens and above, but for extra small screens, right? For extra small screens, we want it to take up the entire width of the page. Yes? Right? So let's do 12. Everybody okay? Yes.
For the left bit, should that be called as small?
Where are you looking at?
So like if you look at the first div, like the left one,
Yeah.
should that be called as like
SM? Yes, right, because for XS it's not even going to show, right? But yeah, that's good. Although this would work as well, right? Because it's just not going to show, right? But yeah, small to be clearer, right? All right, so let's look at what we have so far. Let's go back to let's go up. Now let's go down to lectures. Where's my lectures directory? There it is. Lectures, undergraduate. Let's go to Bootstrap and then split index. All right, so there it is. We have left-hand side and right-hand side, and it's always the same layout up until it becomes too small, and then the left-hand side just disappears. Right? So it looks like it's behaving the way we want it. It's always a good idea to create these really tiny experiments, right? As opposed to trying to solve a problem inside of a larger piece of code, right? So first, create a little experiment. Make sure you understand it, right? That it's behaving the way you expect it to behave. Once you are comfortable and feel confident that you understand what's going on, then copy that same and move it on to promote it to your actual piece of code, right? It makes it so much easier to debug if something is wrong, and it's meant to be throwaway code, right? We're not gonna try and solve this in such a much bigger piece of source, right? Okay, so now that we're fine with this implementation, we can now copy this and go back to our assignment and go into our undergraduate and go into our website list, and we can start pasting in here a couple of things, right? So let's see. Let's put it inside our container fluid. We don't have a list, right? We don't have a list, so let's remove that. We do have the top and bottom headers and footers. Let's paste that in there. There we go. So we have the left and the right. We don't have this yellow anything, right? So let's move that. Right. So now if we go back and go down to our assignments and go down to website list, well, no, website edit, it doesn't render. Wait, what? Why is this not rendering?
Put it in website list. Put it in website ID.
Website. Did I just blew away my website list? Ah! Okay, undo, 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 undo. All right, let me see if I have it, if I saved it. Okay, I saved it. Thank you. All right, so website edit. Let's go to website edit. I'm going to copy website lists onto website edit. So let me just blow this away. Just because it has the headers and the footers and it has all the style sheets already loaded, right, so I don't have to do that again. I'm just going to copy and paste. So I'm going to have this is edit. There it is. So what I want to do here is remove my list. Actually, do I want to remove my list? Not really, because I do want that list, right? I want that list on the left-hand side, right? So let's put that list that right now, if I click on the cog, it's just the same exact content, right? But I want that list of websites. I want it on the left-hand side, right? So let's do that. Let's wrap this list, right, around with a div that has a row, right? Basically, our example here, the split example. Let's copy that. Let's put it in here for now as a placeholder, and let's remove the colors. We don't need the colors. And what we can do, right, is we can just take this whole thing, right, cut it, and just paste it right underneath the UL. All right, and then we can code, inspect, code, cleanup. Where's the rearrange? What is it? And no, I think the no, it didn't do it. Maybe I have to select. There we go. Thank you. So if we go back here, notice that now we have this left-hand side, this right-hand side. I think I'm zoomed in a little bit too much. I'm sorry? Uh-oh. Which one? 69. So let's see. So this one is the row. So let's see. This is UL, right? If we close the UL, looks right, no? So we have there's the fluid. This go where? Up. Maybe I forgot to close something. This div is this div here. This div is this one. Huh?
I think it's fine.
Okay. All right, we'll take a look at it. You can fix it up for the assignment. All right, I intended to do that.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so you have your UL on the right hand, on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we just want a form, right? We want a form, and as this becomes smaller, right? Notice that there's a wrap around there, right? So we might want to fix that. And as this becomes even smaller, notice that it disappears. It disappears, and you would be left over with just the form on the right hand side. Okay. All right. So let's add the form. Forms are, you should be familiar already with forms. Let's see what they're asking for. They said we want the website name, the website description, and a delete button. Okay. So let's do that. Let's see. We want an input field for the website name. So let's say that this is the ID is name, and we're going to paint it with a form control or the equivalent, whatever library you're using. To have the input field there, and we're going to create a label for this. So this will be label name, and this is for the ID name. There we go. So we have that first one. Plus we need what? The text area there, right? So let's put a text area. Also we need a default name for that input field, and we do that with value. And this is we're building Blogger. Make sure to always add extra white spaces, right, so that your lines don't become too long. That makes it harder for other developers to read, right? Also add extra space every time you start a brand new set of labels or input fields that are grouped together. So this one is a text area, so text area. And this is, I'm going to, again, paint it with form control. And the ID is, what is the description? Description, right? Yeah, description. So this is description, and this is for description, right? So let's render that. Let's paint it. What happened? Form control. Form control, and the label is description. Is that better? Okay. The height, let's change the height a little bit. We can do that with rows, at least 5 rows. There it is, so it's high. Okay, very good. Also notice that oftentimes we do this unintentionally, right? That we have this text area. If you refresh, you'll notice that if I click on the text area, the cursor is somewhere in the middle, right? So all this extra space is all this extra space that is all these extra spaces here. See that? It literally becomes part of the text area, right? And probably that's not what you intended to do. So be careful. Just leave the text area on the same line so it doesn't add that extra content. Yes? Let's see, what else? Again, split your contents, your code so that it's all declared in separate lines. It just makes it easier to read for other developers. Remember, you're not coding for yourself, you're coding for others that are going to be using your code at some point, are going to be looking at your code. Typically, you would submit this for review. Some other developer would read this, and they would say, yes, I'm okay with maintaining this code, I will accept it. Right? Or they might reject it, right, with some comment to say, please do this, that, and the other, right? All right. So what else we need? We need a hyperlink, right, for the cancel, for the delete. So we're gonna paint it. If we click on this delete button, we would like to go back to the list of websites. So let's go to website list. And we have the delete button. We're going to paint it red. So this is a button. It's going to take up the entire width of the container, so it's going to be a block. And we're going to paint it red with danger. Right? Again, every line so that it's make it easier to read. So there it is. Notice that there's no spacing below this. I thought we had fixed that in our style sheet. There's our style sheet. All right, so notice that we did do it for the input dot form control. See that? We would like to apply the same exact rule for also text areas, right? Actually, for all our form elements, yes? So to do that, if we want exactly the same transformation on that element, we could use a comma separator and say, I want the same transformation applied to another rule, right? We can say that I want this to apply also to text areas, right? That also have the form control class applied to it. Yes? Right, this allows you to reuse the same transformation for different rules. Also here, don't make these too long, right? Also add extra spaces so that it makes it, again, easier to read for others, right? Anyway, all these extra spaces are going to go away when you deploy. When you deploy, typically all this is going to go into a process that will minify, will concatenate all this, right, into a single file, right, and reduce this to a very, very small size. Right, so let's refresh. Notice that now we do have that spacing. And if we click on delete, it navigates back to the list of websites. Yes? Everybody good? All right, I think the only last thing to do is to add some content here. For the input, we already have this. For the value of this, perhaps copy something from lorem ipsum. So that when you go to the cog, right, it displays it. Why is it not displaying? Oh, okay, sorry. For the text area, we don't use the value. All right, for the text area, instead, is embedded inside the text area tag. So the value is used for most other input fields, not for the text area. We're going to paste it right here. There it is. Okay? Everybody good? Yes.
So that gives it the actual value for the
Yeah, exactly. You would do right, exactly. For the new, it'll be a placeholder. For the edit, well, you will also have a placeholder, obviously, but it'll have this dummy text for now. When we do it next week, this won't be hard coded. We'll be reading it from a data model.
How would you like the outline of if there's an outline
Around what?
like the list of them?
Oh, these? Yeah. Okay, so we could take a look. Yeah. Not all of them, only on the edit versions, right? They say here, right? So the edit has dummy text, but the new does not have dummy text. Yeah. With intent is that you're editing presumably something that already exists, right? All right, so let's look at that. So here you can go to inspect it and see what we have. So you can highlight and see where that comes from. See that's this border, right? It has a color which you can change, right? You can remove the border. You can say no border, and that's how it would render if that's how you want it, right? Say we want that, we would override this rule. We could grab this rule, right, and go to our style, our own style sheet, right, and override it here. Right, and say that we don't want the border. So it would be maybe border none. Right, so there won't be any border. So if we refresh, notice that there are no borders, and we'll see that that's our rule that's being triggered, and it's overriding this transformation from Bootstrap. Right, but we are inheriting everything else. Right, we still have position relative, display block, padding, margins, background colors being inherited. Yes?
You know how when you use a container in a row, it wraps itself around what's inside of it, so it will not take the height of the page. So we have two columns right now, but it only has a big.
Exactly, yeah.
I noticed that you have border in between the two columns, but it doesn't necessarily wrap around.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, so what we're going to do, tomorrow what we'll do is that we're going to need to extend it, because what we want to do, right, is that If the left-hand side is too long, like if you have dozens of pages and extends below, right? You want to be able to scroll the left-hand side, right, without having scrolling the right-hand side, right? So, for instance, we'll fix this. It's somewhat involved, but wait, am I looking at the right one? Where are my websites? Oh, they're collapse. Yeah, so part of the so if you have lots and lots of websites on the left-hand side, right, they don't fit. And what we want to do is be able to scroll, but notice that the entire page is scrolling. See that? Right? That's not really a good experience. What we'd like to be able to do is to be able to scroll the left-hand side without scrolling the right-hand side. Right? So, and we'll cover that tomorrow. What we need to do is to stretch this to the left side and right side, and then handle how we want the scroll bars to appear. Right? We'll do that tomorrow. It's fairly involved. Okay. So the next big part of this, right, would be to click on the where'd my borders go? All right, we overwrote everybody. It's overwritten for everybody, right? Looks weird. Sorry. Can I put it back? It just looks weird. To comment things temporarily, you use the same comment characters that you use for like C or C++. Not the dash dash. Right? Dash dash does not comment something. Put it back. Okay, so page list. Let me just get you started with page list. So page list looks exactly or almost exactly the same way as the website lists, right? So you could get started with copying this and this page list, okay? And this would be the list of pages. So if you render this, right, you would have something like that. If you click on this, it takes you to the page list, right? Which would look fairly similar to the website list, but this would be names of pages. But what I did want to point out is that notice that this is becoming unwieldy, right? This is right now we only have just a couple of pages, but this could easily become dozens and dozens of pages, right? We need to start being able to handle this complexity, right? As we have pages and whatnot. A very common way to organize your source code is to organize it by either the feature, right, that you're implementing, or the data model or the entity that you that it handles, right, and just reorganize it around that. I'm going to use entities, right? So the entities that we're dealing with are pages, websites, and users, right? So we'll create a directory for users, right, and put in there everything that has to do with users, like login, register, and profile, right? All those 3 pages deal with handling things for the user. Yes, right? I'm going to move them into user, and this is saying, okay, you're moving it. You're probably going to break something because other pages are referencing these pages, right? So you can say search for references, and it will look for any other pages that refer to it, and it'll tell you these are the pages that would break. Hello? Did I click on this? Oh, I don't know if I broke it. Refresh, index, login. Okay, all right, notice that it did not break, right? What it did is that it updated all those references for you, right? That's if you're using WebStorm. I'm sure if you're using different IDEs, they have similar functionalities. So we have the user. We're also going to create a couple other directories here. One for websites, so websites. I don't like using the plural of the entities. I tend to use just singular. I will put these 2 in there as well on the website and tell it to also search and update the references. Just taking a little bit. And I will accept its recommendations for modifications. Yes. I'm scared to click it. All right, I guess it did it. And finally, pages, right? So page. I will put page list in there. Oops, page list in there. Right. This will eventually get even more complex when we start adding controllers and services and communication with the backend. So this will allow us to organize ourselves around all these artifacts that we're going to be building throughout the semester. All right. All right. I'm going to leave it here. I'm just going to make this available in Bootstrap. I'll push it right away, and feel free to reuse any and all of what is here. So I'm going to say assignment 2 start. I'll commit and I will push. All right, thank you.